Dr. Elias Vance wasn't just any surgeon. He was the surgeon. In the glass towers of Linwood General Hospital, his name floated through the halls like a legend. He performed the impossible, heart transplants in half the usual time, tumor removals so precise the margins were practically art. His hands had saved hundreds, maybe thousands. But a year ago, something changed. Whispers began among the nurses first, post-op patients who didn't recover quite right, family members receiving vague explanations about complications. At first, no one questioned Vance. How could they? To question him was to question the hospital itself. Until the Parker case. Mara Parker was 29. She had gone in for what should have been a routine gallbladder removal. Instead, she died on the table. The official cause? Anesthesia complications. The real cause, whispered by an anesthesiologist, later fired without explanation. A scalpel slipped where it shouldn't have. And then, a cover-up. Mara's family refused to stay silent. They hired private investigators, lawyers. A civil case exploded into a full-blown criminal trial when 3 former staff members came forward with damning evidence: falsified surgical records, missing narcotics logs, bribes paid to silence complaints. The day before Elias Vance was set to stand trial, facing charges that could have put him behind bars for decades, he disappeared. April 27, 9:41 p.m. Security footage showed Vance leaving his office, a sleek black leather bag over his shoulder. He looked calm, not panicked, not rushed. He nodded politely to the receptionist, handed over a folder marked "Personal Files," and exited through the main lobby doors into the cool night air. That was the last confirmed sighting, or so they thought. The investigation kicked off immediately. Detectives searched his townhouse. Impeccably clean, unnervingly so. No personal photos, no half-drunk mugs of coffee, no clothes in the laundry. It was like Vance had scrubbed away his life. Neighbors reported nothing unusual, except one odd thing. A moving van had parked outside his house 2 nights before he vanished. When questioned, the company denied sending a van to that address. It got stranger. A credit card registered to Vance was used to book a private charter plane 2 weeks earlier. Destination: Montreal. Except the flight manifest didn't list him as a passenger. Instead, it showed the name E. Wallace, an alias Vance had used years ago when publishing under a pen name. Detectives rushed to the private airstrip. The security tapes for that night? Erased. The plane's pilot, found dead 3 days later, ruled an overdose. At the hospital, things unraveled even faster. Multiple staff members reported strange things about the night Vance disappeared. The receptionist he handed the personal files folder to, she quit the next morning. When police opened the folder, it contained nothing but blank pages. An orderly said he saw Vance speaking to an unknown woman in scrubs near the loading docks. When shown security photos, the orderly pointed at a woman no one could identify. No employee records, no ID badge. She was never seen again. A week later, janitors cleaning out Vance's locker found something chilling stuffed behind a loose ceiling tile, a hospital ID card belonging to Mara Parker. It had been wiped clean, scrubbed of fingerprints, but investigators found a single strand of hair clinging to it. DNA matched Vance. The media went wild. Had he fled? Was he dead? Had the hospital helped him escape to protect its reputation? Rumors exploded online that Vance had plastic surgery and was living in South America, that he was abducted and silenced by the hospital board, that Mara Parker's death wasn't a botched surgery, it was something worse. 3 months later, new evidence emerged. An anonymous envelope arrived at the Linwood Police Department. Inside was a flash drive labeled simply, "Play me." Detectives, expecting a prank, almost ignored it. When they played the file, their blood ran cold. It was security footage, not from the hospital, from an underground parking garage. Timestamp: April 27th, 11:42 p.m. The footage showed a man matching Vance's build and gait, but wearing a baseball cap pulled low. approaching a black SUV. As he opened the door, two masked figures appeared from the shadows. They moved fast, professionally. A struggle, short, brutal. The man was dragged into the SUV. The vehicle sped off into the night. The plate was traced to a rental company, but the booking records had been hacked, the physical forms shredded. No witnesses. Elias Vance didn't vanish on his own. He was taken. But by whom and why remained maddeningly unclear. 6 months after his disappearance, Linwood General quietly settled with the Parker family for an undisclosed amount rumored to be north of $15 million. No admission of guilt, no further criminal charges, no statement to the public. The case was closed, officially. Unofficially, it was whispered that the hospital board had ordered a cleanup, that if Vance had stood trial, he would have exposed not just surgical errors, but financial crimes, illegal clinical trials, and secret experiments conducted without patient consent. In other words, Mara Parker's death might have been collateral damage in something much bigger. 2 years later, halfway across the world in Singapore, a man was admitted to an emergency room after a motorcycle accident. His injuries were severe, multiple fractures, internal bleeding. As surgeons prepped him for operation, one young doctor swore he recognized the man's eyes. He looked just like Elias Vance. When the surgical team returned after a shift change to follow up, the man was gone. No discharge papers, no patient records. Security footage from that night, once again erased. All that was left behind on the hospital bed was a small black leather bag, identical to the one Vance had carried out of Linwood General the night he vanished. Inside was a single item, a scalpel, sterilized, unused, and etched into the metal, so faint you had to tilt it under the light to see. Forgive me. Today, if you walk the halls of Linwood General, you won't see any plaques bearing Dr. Elias Vance's name. The surgical wing he helped design has been renamed. New doctors rotate through, unaware of the man who once ruled the operating rooms like a king. But if you ask the right people, the ones who were there, they'll tell you. Sometimes, late at night, on the highest floor near the old surgical theaters, you can hear the sound of footsteps. Quick, confident, sure. The kind only a master surgeon makes. And sometimes if you listen closely, you'll hear the soft metallic scrape of a scalpel against the wall, marking a countdown no one wants to reach. Because some ghosts aren't dead. They're just waiting.